Hey guys, it's Sam for Digital Meat, and we're here for a live stream. I wanted to do this because, well, I just wanted to update you guys with what's kind of been going on, and also to kind of address why my output on YouTube has been a bit lacking recently. I don't know if you can hear this fan, but I'm going to turn it off. There we go. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about why I seem to sort of put up 3 or 4 videos on YouTube, and then I'd disappear for like a month or 2, and then I'd put 3 or 4 more up in the space of a couple of days, and then I'd be gone again. So let me just get my list of stuff up that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, basically I'm just going to explain why I've sort of been in and out a little bit. Let's have a look. Okay, so the first thing is I've been decorating my apartment. So the idea was that I'd give this place a new lick of paint, but mainly the office where I am now actually was my main sort of concern. There's a few upgrades that I wanted to do and a few things that I wanted to do, and I'll get into those in a minute. But I thought I'd decorate in general while I was at it. So that didn't actually take too long. You know, decorating the hallway, bedroom, living room, you know, all that kind of stuff. It was actually quite quick to paint up and everything. And a lot of that was fueled by the fact that I wanted to do some proper cable management in my office, because I realized that the more I started to add to it, and you know, as I expanded the tech that was in there and everything, I realized that it was going to get super messy really quickly. So I thought, right, well, there's no point addressing any of that until I've decorated the office, because there's no point doing all the cable management, sorting out all the data connections, all that kind of stuff, and getting everything set up as I want it, only to have to rip it all out again to decorate. So I just thought, right, let's just you know, pull it all back and start from the foundation, and then just go from there. So that's part of the reason that I've been away, because I've been bouncing between doing that. I mean, remember, I'm a one-man band here, so I've been bouncing between doing that and doing work as well, and you know, putting up YouTube videos when I can. Obviously, they've been pretty scarce. So so yeah, that was the first thing I've been doing. In fact, if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you could probably see some of this happening. In fact, let me just jump over to let me see if I can share my screen. There we go. So this is my Instagram, and we can actually have a look at what I've been up to. So this is when I emptied my office out. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but that was basically the contents of my office in my living room, and this is me kind of putting a desk on its side so I could paint it all. I stripped all the audio tiles off the wall, all of that stuff, and yeah, generally painted the skirting boards, cleaned the carpets, all that kind of stuff. I also then, and there you go, there's a good shot of all the carpets being cleaned, and then I got the audio tiles back up. I also got some more behind me. You can probably see actually that a bit more extensive there. So let me get back to my list, because I made a list because I knew I'd forget what I was gonna go on about. So yeah, decorating the office was one thing. More audio tiles up. Cable management is also something else. We'll get back to this lot in a minute, but as you can see, if we go down here, this is what underneath my desk looked like originally. So yeah, a little bit hectic underneath there. Not very well organized at all. That certainly wasn't. And obviously the more I added, the more cluttered it was going to get. So I wanted to deal with that. So I did. So I had to plan it out quite a lot. I had to plan what data connections I needed, the data speeds, all of that kind of stuff. So I had to do a little bit of digging and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, this is what it ended up like. You can see under the desk now it's completely clear, and that's because it's all been planned and adhered to the underside of the desk, which is exactly what I wanted. I just wanted it nice and clear. So I think I might actually crawl underneath this in a minute. Yeah, here we go. And you can see exactly what I did underneath here. Yep. All right, get under there. There's my feet. So I got some kind of like server raceway that I adhered to the bottom of the thing so I could run cabling along it. And it's actually got a face that you can clip off and back on again. I put all the power outlets underneath, adhered to it as well. So that's what I've been up to, basically, that kind of thing. So, like I said, office decoration, cable management, just wanted to get all my ducks in a row in that sense. So, moving on, let's have a look. You'll notice that I've got new lighting in here as well. I thought it might just look a little bit better for streams and videos in general. If I scooch back to this view, you can see that I've got some light changing LEDs. So I grabbed some smart lights. I put them out. I put them throughout the flat actually. So it means I can turn them all off from in bed, which is a bonus, isn't it? So yeah, I did that. What else? What else have I been up to? So cable management was a big one actually. The decorating didn't take too long. I did the hallway bedroom first, and then the office because just wanted to get it done. And then the cable management, planning it, getting everything that I needed, getting it all in place. That took about a week. That actually took longer than the painting. So yeah, there was a couple of missteps as well. Like I thought I planned it out correctly, and then it was only when I started to do it that I went, no, that's not going to work. So there was a little bit of that. Like I said, the new lighting, new display as well. So let's go back down here. Let's make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, so I bought this thing, and for those interested to know what it actually is, I will tell you now. It is a Dell S2721 DGF 27-inch, and there was multiple reasons I went for this screen, but the biggest one was that it's got a wide color gamut even. So that means that it's wider than the sRGB range, and it just means that you can do editing for it's HDR as well, by the way. So that means that you can do HDR editing, and it be displayed, you know, in HDR. You can do HDR video, and you can color for larger than the sRGB range, which is really useful for photographers and that kind of stuff. So that's why I wanted this screen. Well, one of the major reasons I wanted this screen. The other reasons were it was kind of a balancing act between a load of stuff actually. Color accuracy obviously being important, but I also wanted a high refresh rate, and I think it's a G-Sync monitor as well, so you can, you know, all of that stuff. So it kind of treads the line between being useful for, you know, 3D and photography and all that kind of stuff, and also being really good for, you know, gaming if you want to do that kind of thing, or high frame rate video, or what, you know, you get what I'm saying. So I got this new display, and then I didn't want it just sort of sitting on my desk like I normally had it, which is a good example of that is here. So you can see all my, these two screens are just on my desk. This one's not even a screen, it's a Surface Pro device that I used as a third monitor. I did that via networking software. Not the greatest, but you know. But then I bought this mount, so I could mount my screens, and that's the new screen mounted to it. And I also got another mount for this screen. So this is an old Dell, this one. This is my new Dell. And you'll notice that this screen here on the left is super glossy. And I'm kind of using that as what it is, actually. It's a TV. So if I'm working, I can use my two screens and I can have something else going on the third screen, whether it be music, film or something like that. But also it's kind of a dumping ground. So if I need to lob anything over there or open up my material node stuff on that screen, it's really helpful. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to. Anyway, what was the other thing I wanted to tell you? Right, GPU. I upgraded my GPU. So let's have a look. Here we go. So like I said, for anyone following me on Instagram, you'll already know this, but for those of you that aren't, go follow me on Instagram. I think it's Digital Meat 3D, instagram.com/Digital Meat 3D. It's the same for Facebook and Twitter, so go follow me on those. But I've got my grubby little mitts on one of these, and you're probably thinking, bastard. And you're right to some degree. No one is in the chat. He says price ? Let us know what you're referring to. I'm guessing the monitor that I was just talking about. I think, let me have a look for you. I'll get back to you on that, but I think, where did I pick it up? Let's have a look. Dell. Have a look. I thought I got it from the local store, actually, this one. I'm just having a quick look on Amazon. You can pick them up for about 330 quid, those monitors. So, yeah, not bad. I will warn you, though, if you are thinking about getting one of these, it hasn't got a sRGB mode. So it doesn't have a mode in which it can clamp down that higher range of colours to an sRGB range. I know some LG monitors do that. This one doesn't. So if that's important to you, just bear that in mind, because you'll have super vibrant colours. If you're viewing an sRGB space, the colours will be mapped onto this wider gamut, which is, I think it's D3. What is it? It's called now. I want to say DCI P3. That's the larger colour gamut. Is that down again? Vague says the monitor. Yes, yeah, okay, I'll just address that. So anyway, onto this card. You're going to love this, because if you're anything like me, you know that these cards are like gold dust. Now, Jason Loader says, what card are you talking about? I'm watching on ancient iPhone and I'm 102. Well, happy birthday, Jason. Congratulations. You'll be getting a letter from the Queen any day now. So, just going to take a drink. Okay, the card in the picture that we're looking at is an Asus TUF Gaming RTX 3090. Now, you're probably all thinking, you bastard, which I completely sympathise with, and you're kind of right, but you would not believe what I had to pay for this thing. So I'll tell you a little story. I actually ordered a Asus TUF 3080 from overclockers.co.uk, and I did that in November of last year. So that's November 2020. I still haven't got it. I'm still waiting for it. And it got to about June, July this year. And I thought, right, well, it's been 6 months. I've been waiting for that 3080. And in terms of doing GPU rendering and that kind of thing, I still don't know that it's got enough VRAM in terms of memory for holding the entire scene. So I thought, well, if I have to wait any longer, and like I said, I've still not received it. We're coming up on September. It might even be after November that I get it. So that'll be a whole year that I've waited for a 3080, come this November. So thanks, overclockers.co.uk. But it got to the point, like I said, it got to the point in June and July that I thought, this is going to kill me. If I can't get one of these cards, it is literally going to kill me, because I didn't have a last generation card. I went from having two GTX 970s, and then I went to a single 1080 Ti, and then I jumped to the card that I've got now. So I didn't have the last generation. I didn't have a 20 series card. I didn't think the leap was worth it. But this time around, I thought, yeah, it's definitely worth it. So for those of you that don't know what's going on, there's a massive silicon shortage in terms of silicon chips. That hasn't helped. I should imagine COVID hasn't helped either. And something that really hasn't helped is the scalpers using AI bots to basically scalp off of websites that did have stock. They soaked them all up. Also, there was a load of crypto miners that wanted them as well. So all of those things culminated together to kind of fuck us, if you like. Excuse my French. So yeah, that really didn't help. So yeah, come June, July this year, I went, right, this is going to kill me as a content creator and my business. And I'll get onto that in a minute, because it was getting to the point where I went, right, it's time that I joined the GPU rendering gang. There's, plenty of advantages, namely speed, others as well, but Yeah, so yeah, this June I went, well, I can't wait around for this 3080 to arrive. So in the end, I did go on eBay. I done that thing that you shouldn't do. I went on eBay and I bought an RTX 3090. It's got 24 gig of VRAM, which should be, more than enough to hold your scene geometry in memory and all of that kind of stuff. And Jason says, "Oh, I'm guessing 1,700. What for a RTX 3090? In your dreams, son." I paid £2,500 for that RTX 3090. That hurt me. That really hurt me. That did. That hurt my wallet's ass. It really did. But I was kind of being put in a position where I didn't really have a choice, so I had to do it. So anyway, I upgraded my graphics card. That's all I was really trying to say. The other good thing about that, I suppose, is that I've still got a 3080 on the way. Fingers crossed. That still could be coming. Now, what I am thinking of doing is maybe thinking about mitigating some of my losses by overspending on this RTX 3090 by selling my 3080 when it arrives, because I actually bought it at retail in November for around, I don't know, 780 quid. Now they're selling at retail for like at least 1,500. It's absolutely mental out there. So so yeah, I might sell that. Or what I could do is just put it in my machine and add to the GPU rendering power I have. We've got someone else in the chat. His name is HJF4A2. A lovely name. Says, "Chinese crypto clowns, thank you for your eBay purchase." Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I was trying to avoid doing. But it really did get to the point where I was kind of left choiceless, because not only were there crypto clowns clamoring to get these cards, there were scalpers trying to get hold of them so they could sell to the likes of me, I suppose. But then you've got the hundreds of thousands of gamers that think they need a 3090 when they actually don't. One of the cheapest 3090 in Finland is €2,499. Right, I don't know what that equates to in pounds, but I should imagine it's pretty close to what I paid for this RTX. So I'll have a look up after, but yeah, it sounds about right. It's getting pretty ridiculous. Good news is that they are actually building new silicon wafer facilities in China, but they won't be ready until 2022. So I'd expect this kind of crap to be happening to the end of this year and well into next year. And even then, even when those facilities are finished, they've got to ramp up and actually get out all the teething issues before they actually start getting legitimate and, well, not legitimate, but viable wafers out to then, get them to where they need to go. I've read somewhere that the automobile industry didn't help either, because most cars have chips in them now. I mean, most items do, to be. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, to accommodate the possibility of maybe waiting for this 38, so I've got a 3090 in there now in my machine. Woohoo! So there's that. But to accommodate the fact that I might be able to put a 3080 in there as well if it ever arrives, I calculated the power draw on my machine. Now, I've actually got quite a lot going on. I've got a Threadripper in there. I've now got a 3090 in there. I'm also powering a pump because it's a custom loop. In fact, if you haven't seen my machine before, this is it. So yeah, bit of a mess behind there, but don't worry about that. So I've got 3 hard drives. I've got a Threadripper. I've got this 3090 in there. 32 gig of RAM. I think I've got about 11 fans in there. I've also got a fan controller, an M.2 drive, well, an NVMe. So you get the idea. So anyway, I calculated the power for that. And I had enough overhead with the power supply that I had, which was 850 watts, which sounds fine. But once I dumped this 3080 in there as well, it was calculating that I needed about 1,100 watts with some headroom. So I got myself one of these. It's a 1,300 watt power supply by Seasonic. They're very good, Seasonic. They're very reliable. And you can tell that by the fact that they give you a 12-year guarantee on this power supply. So I got myself one of them ready for the next thing. D-Duck is in the chat, says, learning real flow by your tutorials. Thank you, pal. They help me a lot. Glad to hear it. That's what the channel is for. So, yeah, really glad that you're getting some value out of it. And, yeah, thanks for watching. Really appreciate. So, yeah, power supply out of the way. I know, I just want to say that to a lot of you, I know what this stream might seem like. It might just, on the face of it, it might just be, you might be thinking this guy is just going, look what I've got. And it's not that at all. I just wanted to let you guys know what I've been up to. I've been dragging things in and out of my machine. I've been decorating this place. I've been, you know, cable managing it all, trying to, you know, I've got, I do a bit of dev work for the Oculus Rift sometimes, and I've got sensors in the corners. They were all hanging down and everything, but I got some cable trunking to make it look a bit nicer. All of that kind of stuff. I just wanted to generally clean everything up and make my desk look cableless, basically. So yeah, so I've been doing that, and it's better if a client comes over to me, it just looks a bit more professional and stuff like that. So so yeah, I thought it'd be just good for my business in general. So yeah, believe me, this isn't me going, look at me, everyone. It's just I wanted to explain to you guys why. You're probably thinking, is this channel dead now? Is he just sort of disappeared? Is he alive? You know, you know. So I just wanted to say hello. I am alive, and this is what I've been up to. So so yeah. With all that said, that brings me on to sort of like the next thing I wanted to tell you guys. You'll probably notice by a lot of my tutorials that in the past I've tried to make it accessible to everyone, because most of my tutorials either deal with the ins and outs of Cinema 4D in general. They're like the workings of Cinema 4D, how to accomplish certain things, really like useful tools and where you can find them, all of that kind of stuff. So, and like D-Duck said in the chat, he's doing real flow. David Croucher is in there as well. He said all the best tricks I know in Cinema 4D I learned from you. So thanks, man. That's really lovely to hear. I really appreciate stuff like that, because it just means that I'm not wasting my time. So yeah, that's great. I'm really glad that you found it useful. You're getting stuff out of it, and you get into the sort of crux of the things that you want to get to. That's really good to hear. So thank you. But so yeah, most of my tutorials have been like that, and because that I've sort of been dealing with the inner workings of Cinema 4D, I've been sticking to mainly the physical renderer, not so much standard, but physical definitely. And up until recently, the Pro Render. In fact, I've been doing quite a lot of my work in Pro Render. So as a lot of you will know, some of you might not, my copy of Cinema 4D, I'm still on 21 because I had a perpetual license. I didn't know if the upgrade to S22 would be worth it, and I certainly didn't want a subscription. And when I had a look at R22, which isn't actually R22, so you've got to forgive me, the naming convention is a little bit weird. So in July you get S22, and then in September of the same year they call it R23, and then the next year in June, July, it'll be S24, I think, and then R25 later. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on that, because like I said, I'm still on R21. But anyway, yeah, I've been using Pro Render. Some of these shots here, they might look a bit rubbish because of compression and whatnot, but I did some work for a shower company. These were done in Pro Render. I managed to get a pretty good result with them, and I was using my GTX 1080 Ti to do these, and they turned out pretty all right. I think I've got some. Here we go. This is like an underpass shot. These are for like some sports showers or something like that. These are all done in Pro Render as well, like a carbon fiber back there, kind of like a motorsport theme, obviously. Football one, and you know, this one was called Wave, I think, and you know, gym equipment. We've got some noir lighting going on in the back there. So yeah, I've been using Pro Renderer, and it's such a shame because it was a GPU render that was included in Cinema 4D. It was completely free. It was just part of it. And it was in there for all of, well, it was definitely in there for R21. I think it was in there for R22 as well. And then it just, Maxon abandoned it, basically. They said, well, they didn't say anything. It just wasn't in there anymore. And I should imagine it was largely due to the fact that they'd bought Redshift as a company. So now they have their own GPU renderer. So why would they need to be promoted or keeping ProRender? They did actually announce that AMD would continue taking care of ProRender for C4D. I've had a look around. I can't see anything that signifies that AMD are doing that or even care about ProRender on C4D. So I think that's, as far as I know, and if you guys know something different, let me know. But at least from my perspective, it looks like ProRender in C4D is dead at this point. So with my new shiny GPU and better power supply and generally sort of doing these upgrade things, I thought, right, it's probably time for me to actually start looking at a third-party renderer, a GPU renderer. And the conclusion that I came to in the end was Octane render. And I should imagine there are a few of you in the chat that are thinking, Octane, really? So it'll be good to actually see what you think. So give me your opinion in the chat and I can address anything that you got in there. But yeah, the reason that there's a few reasons that I wanted to go for Octane render when compared to things like Arnold, Redshift, V-Ray, you know, all of these things. So I made a list actually about my reasoning to go with Octane. Now, I know some people have had stability issues with Octane, and that's usually due to a lack of VRAM. It will cause instability. In my case, that's not going to be an issue because, like I said, I've got this RTX 3090, so 24 gig of VRAM. I think I'll be all right. Obviously, when you get really, really heavy, that's where you're going to see. That's where you're going to see problems with stability. But I think for my use case, it should be absolutely fine. Seko is in the chat, says, are there any C4D tutors hiring in Digital Meet? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Are there any C4D tutors hiring in Digital Meet? Are you asking if Digital Meet is hiring any tutors? Or are you asking if any tutors want to hire Digital Meet? Me? A bit of clarity would be good there, buddy. Cheers. So stability issues are negated basically because I've got plenty of VRAM in that thing. And like I said, I'm a one-man band, so the projects are large, not going to be small projects, but the scope of them is going to be smaller. Things like Redshift are really, really good for large teams of people working together. Now, like I said, I'm a freelancer. I work for myself. So at this stage, I don't really have to worry about that. So yeah, when it comes to stability and working in larger teams, I'd say Redshift is probably the one to go to. But in my case, Octane is just fine in that regard. Lasse is in the chat, says, been using Octane for a couple of years, loving it. It's been getting much better lately. Yep. Are you guys hiring someone for making courses? When you say you guys, you actually just mean me. Digital Meet is me. So no, we're not hiring anyone. We don't have the money to hire anyone actually. The YouTube channel doesn't really generate cash. It's kind of a labour of love for me. So my main source of income is the work that I do for, you know, companies and corporations and that kind of thing. And the YouTube videos are kind of, well, actually they're not incidental because a lot of my work comes off the back of the fact that I run Digital Meet. When I was in full-time employment before I went freelance, I was already running Digital Meet as a YouTube channel and a web page, and it grew pretty nicely actually. Got a good amount of people there and people seem to enjoy the content, and I actually got work off the back of that. People were emailing me saying, I'm really stuck with something, could you tutor me? And I'd say, yeah, no problem, I can tutor you. Or I'd get people get hold of me and say, you seem to know what you're talking about. Would you like to work on this project with us? Yeah, sure. So yeah, it's almost like Digital Meat is a marketing ploy for the work that I do. But so yeah. So anyway, so let's get on with this list of stuff for the reasons that I chose Octane. So the stability issues are negated by the fact I've got plenty of VRAM. It's good for small teams, not great for larger teams, and you'll probably find stability issues there. Redshift is really good for that, apparently. Second reason is it's unbiased rendering, so it's physically correct. So it's actually quite easy to get photoreal results. But the main thing about it being an unbiased renderer, it just means there's less settings. So when you find you've got a bias renderer, it's actually some parts of the calculation is kind of faking. So there'll be a load of settings for that faking. It will say how many samples do you want to use for that part that we're kind of faking, and you know, loads of settings. But with an unbiased renderer, it means there's much more. It means the settings are much more condensed. And what that translates into, especially when it comes to production, is quicker turnaround time. If you can get really nice results without having to pore over settings for hours and hours, that's great. I mean, if you're a newcomer to Octane, I should imagine it looks quite extensive and confusing at first, but I think once you get your head around it, it should be pretty straightforward and quite easy to get quick results with it. So that's the next reason. It's unbiased physically. I've just seen the chat kicking off. Let's have a look. It does. Lasse says it does crash sometimes, but not that often. I have used it for pretty heavy scenes. I think most of the crashes happens to me when using Octane camera motion blur. Okay, well that's something to keep in mind. Loving Games Fast says hello. Jason says, who uses ProRender? Me and my mates down the Rotary Club have been using Octane and Redshift since the end of rationing. Okay, well, apparently I use ProRender. I've got to be honest, I did like the way they set out the settings, and I actually got some pretty good results out of ProRender. Like I said, I got those renders up here that I did. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, I did these. These were actually, these parts were good. I modeled these parts, and these are ProRender renders. The materials were super easy to set up because it was just basically a C4D reflectance based material, and ProRender read them. So it was quite easy to, you know, get half decent results. So I wasn't massively impressed to begin with, but the more I dug into it, the more I thought, actually, this ain't bad at all. Let's have a look at the chat again. I want to say thanks for the content. Just started using C4D a couple of months ago, and your content keeps me interested in learning and helps a lot. Excellent to hear. I'll tell you what, guys, this chat is very, very sweet. I've had quite a lot of these comments saying, I watch your content, love it, thank you so much. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so next reason in my Octane list why I chose it over the renders, the IPR window or the live viewer. It just means that creating material or shots is much quicker when you get an instant feedback. Now, I am aware that other GPU renderers have this, but not coupled with the reasons that I've already given, and the reasons that I'm about to give. So the next reason, and it's obvious, it should have been top of the list to be honest, is speed. You know, GPU rendering is just quicker than CPU rendering, unless you've got an array of CPUs and they're all whirring away, producing lots of heat and all the rest of it. We got another, sorry about interruption, I like to keep up with the chat. Photons Digital, hi sir, I have watched some of your videos and definitely helped me to get started in Cinema 4D. Thanks. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So yeah, speed. Next one is I can use one copy of Octane with multiple applications. So when you buy you can actually buy a copy of Octane, or you can rent Octane. So I'm renting it actually monthly. But when you do that, you get given access to every single plugin So you've got Octane standalone, and then you've got Octane for Cinema 4D, you've got Octane for Unreal Engine, Blender, anything you can think of. So it just means that I've got one copy of Octane and I can use it across any application they support. Absolutely fantastic. They're not making me pay through the nose, or they're not locking me to one thing. They're not saying choose one and that's the only thing you're allowed to do, so that's good. Okay, so the next reason is I'm not being held hostage by a company, and this is actually quite important to me. With Octane, I'm allowed to pay monthly and I can cancel at any time. And I've got to say that I've got a lot of respect for a company that allows you to do that. And I also think that it means that it shows they have faith in their own product as well. If they're willing to let their users go at the drop of a hat, that must mean they feel pretty good about their product and how impressive it is. What I don't like having happen to me, and this is something Adobe has done recently actually, which is basically say, oh yeah, you can pay monthly, but you're tied in for a year. So even though you're paying a set amount a month, you have to be paying a set amount a month for a year, right? So if you are 6 months in and you decide, oh, I don't need this anymore, I want to stop, they will make you pay the remainder of the year in a lump sum. Well, then just charge me yearly then. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to... I mean, it's absolutely... I get it, because you're basically saying I can spread the cost monthly. But like I said, with Octane, I think I'm paying £17 a month for Octane, and I can just drop it any time that I want to. And it's precisely because of that attitude from Otoy as a company that I'm not going to drop it. They're quite welcome to my money, quite frankly, because they're not holding a knife to my throat and going, you've got to buy us. You've got to buy our product forever, And that goes a long way with me. I should imagine most of you have noticed, gone are the days where you actually own the software that you buy, because you don't buy it anymore. A good example of that is the subscription for Maxon. You're subscribed now, and the moment that you let your subscription lapse, you no longer have a copy of Cinema 4D. I bought a perpetual license, which is partly why I'm still on R21, but that's a perpetual license. That is mine forever. Even if I got a subscription now and updated it for a couple of years, and I found myself on R-Times or something happened and I couldn't re-up my subscription, I will always have R21 to fall back on, because it's mine in perpetuity. So I really appreciate that about Octane, actually. The fact that they're saying, okay, yeah, it is a subscription service, but you're not tied to a chair. We're not going to make you stay with us forever. Lasse says, I need some sleep. See ya. Keep uploading great stuff. Great channel you have here. Thank you very much. Sleep tight. Get some Z's, and yeah, see you later. Okay, so yeah, the fact that I'm not being held hostage, I really, really appreciate that. I've got to say that went a long way with me. I thought that's great. Anyway, moving on. As far as I can tell, it scales nearly absolutely, and I think I've got a link here, actually, so let's have a look at this. I hope you guys can see this page. Let me just check the stream. Yeah, okay, so let me put this into a large screen mode for you so you can see it clearly. So what I mean by scaling is, if you've got one RTX 2080 in there, it performs this well in the Octane bench, right? If you put another RTX 2080 in there, you can see that it almost doubles its rendering power, if you like. If you put a third card in there, it increases by a third, which you'd expect. And then a fourth card, nearly a fourth. So there are diminishing returns. In fact, this lays it out a little bit better. So 100%, you double the cards, it's 196% instead of 200. So it's just under doubling. And then 3 cards is just under tripling. And obviously 4 cards is just under quadrupling. So it scales really well. So if you wanted to whack an extra card in there, you could do. If you wanted to add a third or fourth card in there, you can. And it looks like it handles that kind of scaling really, really well. So that's another reason that I'd want to do that. So let's come out of full screen mode briefly. There we go. Okay, so we've got Sammy in the chat, says, I discovered your channel when I was looking on how to make back face culling, and since then I'm a huge fan. Thank you very much. Keep watching. There will be more content coming now that I've sorted out the refurb work in my apartment and the upgrades to the PC, and you know, I'm kind of coming to the end of it now. I will be back to booting out content like nobody's business, and now that I've chosen a GPU renderer of choice, I'll probably be doing content on that, and it gives me more stuff to it gives me more content to produce, actually picking a GPU renderer and running with it, you know. Renix VFX has swapped over to a 3090 for Octane last week. It's glorious. Yeah, I did some tests. I did a Octane bench before I actually bought Octane, and put it up and compared it against the other scores up there, and I'm in the top sort of 95%, something like that, or 90%. But yeah, it's performing. And I've got to be honest, I was actually impressed because the scene it was rendering, the complexity of it and the time it took, I was like, yeah, that'll do, you know. So let me get my notes back up. So yeah, scaling's good. Let's have a look. You get the choice in Octane, you get the choice of a regular material setup. So if you think about Cinema 4D and how you'd normally set up a material, say, you know, reflectance-based material or something like that, with Octane, you have the choice of a regular material setup or a node-based material setup. Now, I know in some renderers, they sort of go, no, it's node-based all the way, and they've abandoned the other way, but some people just don't like it. So the fact that they give you the choice there is great. If you want to zip back, and if you're making a relatively simple material, you can go, hey, I'm going to do a glossy material, and I can do it very quickly just by doing it the regular way. But if you wanted to start delving into mixing noises or blending things together, or that's where your node-based stuff might come in and actually be helpful. So it's really nice that they give you the choice between those two things. It's also got pretty good support for C4D shaders. So think noises, all that kind of stuff. They're all supported in Octane materials. They're baked, I should imagine, and again, I'll have to test this. I haven't really delved in quite yet. But I should imagine they're baked down before being sent to the GPU. That's how ProRender handled it. Not sure about Octane. I'll have to have a look into that. But it definitely supports C4D shaders, which is good news. It also supports C4D hair as well. You can render hair. So I saw that and went, oh, that's quite impressive. That is very impressive, in fact, because usually what you'd have to do, particularly in ProRender, as is my experience, you'd have to make the hair object render actual polygons, and I should imagine you can imagine what that's like when you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of strands of hair. You're going to kiss goodbye to your VRAM pretty quickly, I can tell you that. So yeah, there's that as well. So yeah, that's why I'm choosing Octane. So I just wanted to let you guys know that Octane is my GPU renderer of choice. So if you see any tutorials regarding rendering going forward, it will probably be Octane. That's not to say that I will not be still covering things that I've not covered before about the physical render, because there's still people that buy a copy of Cinema 4D and that's what they're running with, physical renderer. It's still, you know, it's not as good as the top boys we're talking about, you know, Redshift, Octane and all the rest of it, but it's still fit for purpose. You can still get decent renders out of it. You've just got to know what you're doing. So moving on, what have I got here? Talk about plans to upgrade Cinema 4D in September. Right, yeah. Okay, this is the other thing. The fact that I'm still on our Cinema 4D R21 is probably not a good move, especially if you're making a if you run a channel that produces content about Cinema 4D. It's probably not good. But I just wanted to have a look at the lay of the land first, and I wanted to particularly know what direction they were moving in. Now I've got to say, R22 or well, actually, it was S22, and then it went to R23 later in the same year. So actually, S22 and R23 are pretty much the same version, if you know what I mean. I ignore the S's now, but yeah, that upgrade, I looked at it and I went, it doesn't seem worth the money for me. because what they were trying to do was force me onto the subscription. And they were saying things like, oh, if you give up your perpetual license, you can have 40% off your subscription. And I just thought, no, I want to keep that perpetual license. So if I was going to go to a subscription, I'd just buy another one outright and keep my perpetual, if you know what I mean. Excuse me. But after looking at it, I went, do you know what? I'm quite willing to miss this year. And also, I don't know, because they started to change the core as well. I wanted to see what implications that had. And I know John Dickinson, I don't know if you know that guy, but he did Making It Look Great 11, along with Toby. And I suggest that if you want to know more about modelling, that is hands down one of the best things I've seen. Go and have a look at it. It is really, really good. Yeah, he was having some teething issues with R23. Some stability issues. It was crashing and all the rest of it. So I thought I'd leave that one. But this September coming up, I had a word with a guy in the UK that works for Maxon earlier this year. And I said, can I still upgrade my perpetual license? And he said, yeah. And I said, how much is it going to cost me? And he told me. And I said, okay, well, if I upgrade now, will that mean that I'm on whatever the last R version was? And he said, yes. And I said, and I won't be able to upgrade to the new R version. And he went, no. And I said, well, it's June now. I might as well wait till September and then upgrade, right? And he went, yeah. Well, he didn't say yeah. He said, well, it's up to you. But if you want the version that comes out in September, you might want to wait till then. And I said to him, will I be paying the same price, you know, as if I'd upgraded now? And he goes, I don't know. So basically what I'm doing is waiting till September and waiting to see if Maxon want to shaft me right up the jacksie in terms of money. Let's pray to the Lord that that isn't the case. So yeah, hopefully in September I will be getting the latest release of Cinema 4D, and then I can start cranking out content not only on Octane but also this new version. Yeah, this new version and any of the new features in there and all that kind of stuff. I'll start knocking out videos on that. Edwin Tobias says, Jason, why you think that is? I didn't read what Jason said. Jason Loader, he says, here's my take. I've used both Redshift and Octane from their first version. Octane just looks better by miles. That's probably because it's unbiased and Redshift isn't. It's a biased renderer. I know you can brute force Redshift, but it doesn't look as good. Right. Well, it looks like I've made the right choice then, at least for me, in those terms. But I'm sure, not to say that Redshift is bad, and I'm sure you're not saying that either. And I'm sure, just like most things, it will just keep getting better and better as it develops. But it does look like Octane have got a jump on them. They started way early. As far as I'm aware, I think they started earlier. So yeah, that's what I've got to say about Cinema 4D in September. So fingers crossed, come September, I'll have a word with I won't say his name because I don't want to, you know, put it out there. But the guy that I've been speaking to at Maxon UK, I'll have a word with him and see if the price is still the same. And fingers crossed, I'll be upgrading in September, and then we can start knocking out content and hopefully do a few more streams and stuff, and it'll be more interactive and one-on-one. So that'll be good. That reminds me, I've got some plans for that as well, but I don't want to say anything just yet because I don't want to make a rod for my own back. I don't want to go, oh, I've got this plan, and then it doesn't happen. So let me, I've got something in the works, and when I'm ready, I'll let you know about it. So that's everything that I wanted to talk about. I suppose the only thing to do now is, well, I could do a Q&A with the chat if you've got any questions or want to talk about anything. You know, ask away. If you got anything to say. Common Sense Made Simple says, where you been? And well, that's exactly what this stream is about. So if you go back to the beginning, I basically explain where I've been, what I've been up to, and all the rest of it. So yeah, go back to the beginning. But yeah, if anyone's got questions or generally has some thoughts or just want to chat about something, just put it in the chat and we'll see where we can go from there. If no one's got anything to say or ask or anything like that, I'll probably just do a few shout outs and then end the stream. So I'll give you guys a minute, and yeah, I'll give you, I don't know, I'll wait for 30 seconds to a minute, and if you guys haven't got anything to ask me, I'll end it there, I think. Common Sense Made Simple says, sorry I'm late to the party. No problem, buddy. It's nice that you're here at all. So yeah, very good. I've just realised that I'm in massive screen as well. You can't see me anymore, can you? So let me get back to oh Christ, what's going on here? There we go. We'll get back to, I just realised that I just had it full screen for ages and ages on the same image. So there you go, you can see me now. So, where you been? Sorry I'm late to the party. Thanks. Well, it looks like no one in the chat has got anything to ask me or anything to say, so I think I might give a shout out and then end it there, and hopefully you'll see some content from me soon. So what I did want to say, really, really quick, I just wanted to give a shout out to my long-term supporters on Patreon, actually, because there's a couple of people that need a name check, right? There's my top boy and general VIP, Jamie Easter. He's been supporting me since 2017. That's no small thing. I just wanted to say a big shout out to Jamie Easter. Second in command is Philippe Mikel. He's been supporting me since 2017 as well. And obviously the honourable mentions are Xavier Moscoso, Stuart Warrington, Ilham Alsaban, Electro Hermit, and Renato Marquez. They all deserve some attention. They've all been supporting me, but particularly the top two since 2017. Common Sense Made Simple says, nice cut. Honor Nadai says, I think, sorry if I'm butchering your name, he says, yes, boss man. So there you go. So yeah, I just wanted to give those people a shout out, and I think I'll end it there. And I'll hopefully see you in the next stream or the next video that I put up, and it should be fairly soon. So I'll see you later, guys. Bye.